Picture this: a quiet Virginia suburb, a red brick house hiding secrets. A nanny's just doing her job, coffee in hand, kids laughing, when stolen glances turn into something way too real. A family's on the edge, tensions thick, and one rainy night changes everything. What went down? Who's watching from the window? Stick around. You won't believe where this ride ends. On a sticky summer morning in a sleepy Virginia suburb, Emily Carter, 35 years old, stood frozen in front of a cute red brick house. The air was so thick you could chew it, and the sun blasted through the cracked blinds, practically daring her to step inside. She tugged at the oversized denim jacket slung over her shoulder, her go-to comfort piece, and took a shaky breath. This was it. Day one as a nanny for the Smith family. Far from the dusty roads of her Jordan hometown, Emily never pictured herself ditching her fam, trading falafel for fast food, and landing in America. But life's a wild ride, right? She needed the cash, not just to scrape by, but to flex to her parents and brothers back home that she could crush it solo. No old school rules holding her back. The door swung open, and there was Sarah Smith. Total boss vibes. Her sleek blonde ponytail bounced like it had its own spotlight, and her sharp blazer screamed, "I've got this." Those shiny black flats tapped the hardwood floor like a power move. She flashed a warm grin, but it was the kind that said, "I mean business." "Emily, welcome to the Smith crew," she said, her voice smooth and deliberate, every word landing like it was rehearsed. Next to her stood John Smith, her husband, a tall dude with a chill, friendly aura. His messy brown hair flopped over one ear, and those crinkles around his eyes. Pure good vibes, no stress. He didn't say much, just gave a quick nod and handed Emily a steaming mug of coffee, her new fave habit on the go. Then came the kids. Lily, 7, was a fireball with big hazel eyes that screamed curiosity, firing off questions like, "Why's your jacket so big? Do you like pizza?" Little Noah, 5, stuck to Sarah like glue, peeking out from behind her leg. Emily's stomach did a flip. She'd never nannied before, but Sarah waved it off. "Raising 5 younger siblings. Bro, you're a pro," she said, her tone soft but firm, handing Emily a fat binder stuffed with schedules, snack rules, and, get this, how to fold laundry her way. Total perfectionist alert. The first few weeks, smooth sailing. Emily was up at 6 a.m., flipping pancakes, packing Lily's lunch, and keeping Noah busy with goofy stories about talking dinosaurs. Nap time was her breather. The house started feeling like home, those creaky stairs, the smell of coffee lingering in the air. At night, she'd crash in her tiny basement room, wiped out but buzzing with pride. She was nailing it. Everything seemed chill, like it'd stay that way forever. But you know how it goes. Life loves a curveball. One afternoon, Emily was on her knees scrubbing grape juice off the kitchen tiles. Thanks, Noah, when she felt eyes on her. She glanced up, and there was John, leaning on the counter, sipping coffee, his vibe all warm and thoughtful. "You're unreal with the kids," he said, dead serious. Emily froze, mid-wipe. Thanks, Mr. Smith," she stammered, totally thrown. "Call me John, come on," he shot back with a grin that lit up the room. Her cheeks went hot, not from the compliment, but the way he said it, like it actually meant something. Back home, guys didn't talk like that unless they wanted something. John, he seemed different. She brushed it off and got back to scrubbing, but after that, she couldn't unsee him. How he'd always check if she'd grabbed lunch. How he'd lug grocery bags in from her beat-up rental car. How he'd hang around the kitchen, chatting while she whipped up dinner. Meanwhile, Sarah's big shot job had her jetting off on work trips, leaving John and Emily to tag team the kids. Emily kept telling herself, "Jill, it's just a job." But deep down, she knew it wasn't that simple. And trust me, this was just the start. Curious about Emily's next move? Drop a 1 in the comments if you're hooked, and smash that like button to keep the vibes going. Life in the Smith house fell into a calm flow, but beneath it all, stuff was changing. Sarah's big job kept her away more and more, flying to Chicago or New York like it was nothing. At first, John tried to hold the mess together. Guy was handling bedtime tales and sippy cups like a pro. But late at night, after Lily and Noah were fast asleep, I'd see him spaced out on the couch, swirling a glass of red wine, gazing off like he was cracking life's secrets. Then came the kitchen chats. He'd drop by while I was cleaning pots, wearing a worn gray hoodie, his usual laid-back style, resting on the counter with light talk. "How's your day been, Emily?" Simple things, but those talks, they grew longer, heavier. One night, as I fought a greasy pan, he asked, "You ever get sick of chasing the kids all day?" I shrugged, staying chill. "Nah, I'm fine with it. Oldest of 6 back home. This is easy." He gave a quiet laugh, the kind that says, "I feel you." "You make it seem like no big deal, bro. For real, you're rocking it. Better than Sarah or me." I grinned, waving it off. "You're too kind, man. Just doing my job." But his words, they hit hard. Not some random comment. It felt true, like he saw me. Back home, no one cared about the hustle. To them, it was just my role. But John, he made it feel like it counted. Then there was this one afternoon. Total mood flip. I was out back, pushing Lily on the swing, her laughs ringing through the trees. John walked out, holding a tray of iced tea, that wild hair tossing in the wind. "Thought you could use a rest," he said, placing it on the shaky picnic table. "Thanks," I muttered, keeping it cool. We sat on the porch steps, watching Lily chase Noah across the yard. The sun was sinking, turning everything gold, and the air smelled like fresh grass. Pure calm. Out of the blue, John said, "You ever think about what you left in Jordan?" I blinked, thrown off. "What do you mean?" "Like, if you'd stayed, what would life be now?" I stopped, letting it settle. "I think about it a lot," I said, "but I came here for a purpose. Wanted something good. For me, for my fam to cheer about." He nodded, staring off like he was lost in thought. "You gave up a ton coming so far. That's brave, Emily. Not everyone's got that." Bam! His words crashed into me. Not just praise, but insight. I'd never called it a loss, but sitting there, iced tea dripping in my hand, I saw he got it. I'd left a part of me behind to grab this. That night, I flopped in my basement room, eyeing the cracked ceiling. John's voice played on repeat in my head. He wasn't like the guys back home. Cold, all work. He heard me. He cared. And that was risky. He's a dad, a husband. I'm the nanny, for Pete's sake. Whatever this small spark was, I had to kill it. Eyes closed, I told myself, "Relax, Emily. Tomorrow's just work. Stick to the kids." But deep down, I knew the mood was shifting, and I wasn't set for where it might lead. The dishes clinked under my hands, but John's words from earlier wouldn't quit bouncing around my head. "You've sacrificed more than anyone I know, Emily. I couldn't do it." It threw me off. Back in Jordan, leaving was just survival. No one called it brave. But the way he said it, leaning on the counter in that faded hoodie, eyes locked on me like I was more than just the nanny. It hit deep. "It's not a sacrifice," I mumbled, trying to keep my cool. "Just a choice." He stared at me, quiet for a beat, then said, "You've made me see. Sometimes the right choice still leaves you missing something." Whoa, too real. I didn't know what to say. His vibe was personal. Before I could dodge it, he added, "Emily, you're not just here watching the kids. You've brought this house back to life, something we lost ages ago." That night, I flopped onto my bed, the basement ceiling staring back at me. His words wouldn't shut up. It wasn't just a thanks for the help thing. It felt bigger, wrong maybe, but real. The next few days, John was everywhere. He said it was about Lily and Noah. Extra dad time, sure. But those lingering looks, the way he'd ask about my day like it mattered. Bro, I was fighting to keep the walls up. One afternoon, I'm folding laundry in the living room, sunlight streaming through the blinds, when he rolls up with a little box. "Saw you messing with new recipes," he said, dropping it on the coffee table. Inside, a stack of slick cookbooks, all shiny and fresh. Thought these might spark something. I gawked at him, speechless. "No need to thank me," he grinned, chill as ever. "Just showing you mean a lot to us." My heart did a flip. This wasn't just a gift. It was him seeing me, way past the job. Lines were blurring, fast. Then came the night everything flipped. The house was dead quiet, rain tapping the windows like a drum roll. I'm wiping down the kitchen counters, coffee mug in hand, my usual late-night fuel, when John walks in. He just stands there watching me, then says, "Emily, we gotta talk." His voice, steady but loaded. I stopped cold, turning to face him. "What's up? What's this between us?" he said, low and serious. My stomach dropped. "John, there's no us. You're reading it wrong." He stepped closer, cutting me off. "Number, I can't stop thinking about you. You've woken me up, Emily. Sarah and me, we've been off for years. I can't fake it anymore." My hands shook, heart pounding like a bass line. "You've got a family, John. I know it's messed up," he whispered, his hand brushing my shoulder, "but I can't fight it." Before I could bolt, he leaned in. The kiss was soft at first, testing me. Then it hit harder, full of stuff we'd both been holding back. For a second, every rule I'd set just melted away. But when it broke, reality slammed in. I stumbled back, eyes stinging. "We can't, John. This is wrong. I can't." He didn't argue, just stood there, regret and longing mixing in his stare. That look, it screamed the truth. We'd crossed a line, and there was no undoing it. Rain hammered the windows, the wind howling like it was mad at the world. I'd just hung the last towel on the rack, sipping my go-to coffee, when John stepped into the kitchen. That faded hoodie hung loose on him, and his eyes, they were glued to me. "You ever chill, Emily?" he asked, voice low and rough. I shrugged, playing it cool even though my hands shook a little, setting the mug down. "Used to it, bro." He slid his glass onto the counter, red wine sloshing, and moved closer, slow, like he'd planned every step. My pulse kicked up as the gap between us shrank. When he was close enough to feel the heat off him, our eyes locked. This wasn't the nice boss look anymore. This was a guy done holding back. "Emily," he murmured, barely audible. "I can't get you out of my head." I stepped back, but the counter's cold edge pinned me. "John, what are you doing?" My voice wobbled. "You know what's up," he said, steady, eyes burning. "You feel it too." "I can't," I whispered, barely getting it out. "You've got a family. I can't." But before I could finish, his hand cupped my face, warm and soft, freezing me solid. My heart slammed against my ribs as he leaned in. His lips hit mine, gentle at first, then deeper, like a dam breaking. Every rule I'd clung to, gone. Sarah, my job, all of it. Poof, just John. He pulled me in, arms locking around my waist like I might bolt. The storm outside, the kitchen, all drowned out. His fingers brushed my denim jacket, sending sparks down my spine. Emily. He breathed against my neck. I know this ain't right, but I can't stop. His hand slid to my cheek, thumb tracing my jaw, eyes begging for a green light. I couldn't talk, couldn't think. I gave a tiny nod, and that was it. His lips crashed back into mine, desperate, unloading everything we'd buried. He scooped me up like I weighed nothing, carrying me through the shadowy hallway, up the creaky stairs. I knew where this was going, knew it was a line we couldn't uncross, but I didn't stop him. In his room, the bedside lamp threw a warm gold glow, cozy, but dangerous. He set me on the bed's edge, peeling off my jacket, fingers grazing my skin. His eyes roamed over me, soft but hungry. "You're unreal," he said, voice shaky. I couldn't answer, just let him touch me, hands slow and careful, like I might vanish. His lips traced my neck, my shoulder, each one lighting me up inside. I leaned into him, kissing him back, ditching the guilt, the panic, the voice screaming, "Stop." In that second, I wasn't Emily the nanny. I was wanted, craved, and it hit like a high I couldn't shake. We lost it that night, caught in a wildfire we'd let burn too long. It was electric, messy, and heavy, knowing it couldn't last. Next morning, sunlight sliced through the curtains, and reality punched me in the gut. I woke up in my basement room, last night looping in my head like a bad TikTok edit. Shame, regret, and a weird ache tangled up inside me. I dragged myself to the kitchen to whip up breakfast for Lily and Noah. John was already there, pouring coffee, that messy hair flopping over his ear. He glanced at me, unreadable, but his eyes had this quiet, we both know vibe. "Morning," he said, soft, almost unsure. "Morning," I shot back, keeping it flat, dodging his stare. But no matter how hard I tried to act normal, the air felt thick. Everything was different now. Time dragged on in the Smith house, but every day felt like a war inside me. After that night, we went too far. I wasn't the same Emily. John and I tried to play it off, kept it hush-hush, but those sneaky looks, the way we'd brushed too close, it was screaming to get out. I knew I was on thin ice, but pulling away. Easier said than done. Sarah came back from a marathon work trip, and the second she strutted through the door in her crisp blazer, she clocked something off. Maybe it was how John and I stumbled over words around her, or just that gut wife vibe. "Emily, you've been a rock with the kids," she said one night, sipping tea in the kitchen, her sharp eyes slicing through me. "No clue how we'd manage without you." Bam! Guilt hit like a truck. I was sitting there, smiling fake, face to face with the woman I'd stabbed in the back. One afternoon, we're out back, John and me chasing Lily and Noah around, their giggles lighting up the yard. I catch Sarah at the window, arms crossed, staring. Her face, blank, but her vibe was ice cold, like she was piecing it together. John didn't notice, too busy fake tackling Noah, but I felt her eyes drilling holes in me. That night, the house buzzed with tension. Muffled voices leaked from their room, Sarah grilling John about why he's different. I hid in my basement nook, drowning in shame. This mess I'd started, it was crashing down on everyone. Then it hit the fan. Sarah took the kids out for ice cream, and John cornered me in the kitchen, looking wrecked, messy hair flopping, eyes dark. "Emily, we can't keep this up," he said, voice shaky. "I'm tearing Sarah apart, but you're stuck in my head." "Don't you get it, John?" I snapped, my voice cracking. "We screwed up from jump. I can't carry this guilt anymore." He stepped closer, desperate. "I love you, Emily. You've lit this place up, lit me up. I've never felt this seen." My chest locked up. I loved him too, but it was poison. I sucked in air, forcing steel into my spine. I love you too, John, I choked out, tears spilling. But this has to stop. I won't wreck your family, or myself. That night, I made the call. Staying. It'd only torch everything worse. 2 weeks later, I handed Sarah my notice. She froze, setting her mug down, eyes wide. Emily, what's wrong? Did we mess up? No, it's not you, I said, steady as I could. Just time for me to bounce, try something new. She hugged me tight, voice cracking. You've been family, Emily. We're gonna miss you so bad. John. He just nodded when I told him, eyes heavy with hurt and surrender. I get it, he whispered, but you're unforgettable. The day I left, Lily and Noah clung to me, sobbing into my denim jacket. Don't go, they wailed. I squeezed them hard, whispering, you're always in my heart, okay? Sarah stood by the door, eyes puffy, waving slow. John hung back, watching me like I was slipping through his fingers. As the taxi peeled out, I stole one last look at that red brick house, where I'd learned love, screwed up big, and found the guts to walk away. In my tiny new apartment, I sat cross-legged on the floor, coffee gone cold in my hand, staring at the peeling walls. I prayed, begging for peace, for forgiveness. My heart still ached, hollowed out, but this was the only way to fix me. No fairy tale ending here, just real talk. Love's not always enough. Sometimes you gotta love yourself more. Stick to your roots, protect your soul. Walking away, it's not weak. It's the toughest move you'll ever make, and the right one. Hey guys, if you liked this story, don't forget to smash that like button. It really helps me out. And hit subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think.